and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where once again we have so much Barca news to be discussing after, of course, we reached the Supercup final. After a really solid 2-0 victory against Athletic Club, we're going to be talking about the good and the bad from that game, with Frenkie de Jong very much in the spotlight. More on that to come. We're also going to be talking about the latest news on Dani Olmo and what his temporary registration actually means, along with Laporta's really strong words for the Spanish Federation, along with all the latest transfer news, including Ronald Araujo, with yet more big developments on his future today. So get yourselves ready, guys. Get yourselves comfortable. We have a lot to get through. Let's do this. Because if we do indeed kick off today, guys, with yesterday's win in the Super Cup semi-final against Athletic Club, and I think overall it was definitely a step in the right direction for Barca. Obviously here, we're into the new year now. We're trying to put the end of last year behind us, and I think we have, 2 wins out of 2 so far. And when you listen to Hansi Flick there in the press conference, I think he's quite satisfied with what he's seeing right now. He said, we're happy with the 2-0 win. It's a good win for us. We're in the final, and this was our objective. We are happy also that we kept a clean sheet. The team has performed well, and it's quite interesting actually. This is the first time that Barca have started a new year with 2 successive clean sheets since way back in 2014 there. So that is certainly a solid start, and I think that was probably the thing that pleased Flick above everything else there. That clean sheet yet again, and of course with Wojciech Szczesny in goal. And Flick was asked there, are Barca now returning to form? Are they putting the end of last year behind them and returning to a better level? And Flick said, we've got a young team, we're going to have to learn a lot, we're going to learn as we're going on, but he said the style is the most important thing. He said even if you look back at the game right before the break against Atletico Madrid, we played in the right way, but we lost the match and it wasn't nice for us to end in that way. But he said now, we started the new year well with 2 out of 2 wins and with 2 clean sheets there. So things certainly looking more positive. I think that's really important, and the timing of these wins is absolutely key, because given everything that has been going on away from the field, lots of negativity, lots of uncertainty, the one thing we needed is some consistency out there on the field. And I think the players have done really, really well under these circumstances. Flick as well, to just focus, to just organise and to get the results that we need. And we are into the final. And Flick was asked there about Lamine Yamal. He was taken off, of course, after an hour in this game. Was that a decision that you'd already made beforehand? And he said, look, it was the right call. It was the right decision. He said, I know that you're always looking towards Lamine, but we have to take care of him after his injury. We knew that on 60 minutes, 65 minutes, we had to change him. So I think it's really good here that the club are taking some care, that they are maybe just making sure that Lamine is not being overworked, and especially so soon after that injury. But this has to continue too. I think we can't get sort of 1, 2, 3 games away from that injury and then just forget about it and then just go back to playing him for every single minute of every game. We have to keep an eye on him and his game time. And of course there, in his press conference, Flick was asked about Dani Olmo, about Pau Victor there, about the precautionary measure that has now been granted to Barca that we're going to talk more about today. And he said, of course, I am really happy for both guys, and I'm really happy for the whole team. He said you could see what happened on the bus after we received the news there. Big smiles, big celebration from everybody. He said the whole club is really happy with this decision, the right decision. And I thought that was very interesting there that Flick talked about not only just with Dani Olmo, not only just with Pau Victor there, the 2 that were involved in that situation, but this has become about everyone. I believe here the squad, even the training sessions, it would have seeped into that. There would have been a feeling inside of the club that, okay, this is not right. We heard Rafinha talking very, very openly about the situation, and for everybody's benefit here, it had to be resolved, and that is something that really should give us a boost. And Flick even said before this game, it helped everybody. It really did give us the kind of lift that we were looking for, even going in to last night's match, and that there is definitely a big positive. But I think one thing, guys, that we do have to talk about from yesterday's game, somebody maybe that isn't going to be feeling so happy right now, well, that is Ansu Fati, because of course last night he was completely left out of the squad against Athletic Club. It was Tony Fernandes, the youngster there, really talented young player, who was preferred to him in the squad. Tony Fernandes was included, Ansu Fati was left out in the cold, and apparently, according to the media here this morning, he did not expect that at all, because right now there is no physical problem, no injury problem, no discomfort for Ansu. He is feeling absolutely fine, absolutely ready to play. And he was shocked when he found out there that he wouldn't be in the squad for yesterday's semi-final. And he's not feeling good right now. Apparently, according to the media, Ansu is very affected after this exclusion. And he believes from inside of the club that they want to get rid of him in January. He believes the club are trying to either sell him or loan him out. He would rather stay. But, given this kind of situation, when you're not maybe even being included in squad lists, is that going to be the best decision right now? But it's interesting with Ansu, because one club that really were and have been interested in signing him are Sevilla in La Liga, of course. They've been interested in him now for several months. But the thing about Barca right now is that they don't want to actually do business with Sevilla for Ansu, because of a number of factors. They did not like the stance that Sevilla took when it came to the Negreira case. They were one of the clubs that were really outspoken about that. And they also don't like the fact that Sevilla are also one of the clubs who are ready to protest if Olmo and Pau Victor ended up being registered. So Barca right now, they are not getting on at all with Sevilla. That may impact the deal for Ansu Fati. And there are other clubs too looking at him. But what do you expect to happen from here? Were you surprised when he was left out of the squad? Do you believe that his future is outside of the club now? Would that be the right move for him? Because just yet again this season, guys, it's another one of these campaigns that so far it's been interrupted, it's been disrupted by injury for Ansu, and it's simply not working out for him right now. But indeed, guys, speaking right here about this whole Dani Olmo and Pau Victor situation, we did indeed talk about the news late last night that Barca have been granted by the court a temporary measure, and that effectively means that as of right now, Olmo and Pau Victor, they can both play. They are able to play in the Supercup final this weekend. That is done, and it's absolutely fantastic news. But a lot of people now are wondering, well, if it's a temporary measure, if we haven't completely won yet, what is the situation? How long are they going to be registered? What kind of competitions can they play in? Well, right now, this provisional registration for Pau and Dani Olmo, it means they can play in all competitions. They have been granted a provisional registration that gives them exactly the same benefits as the normal one. And what is interesting right now is that this provisional registration, it could effectively last for up to 3 months. This could be a really long, drawn-out case here in court. The latest date that a final decision can actually be given is the 7th of April. So right now, under this temporary measure, they could be registered for up to 3 months until that decision comes. Because like we say, in court right now, La Liga, the RFEF, they've got to make their case. Barca, of course, have submitted lots of documents, lots of files there to the court over this situation. And this could become a long, drawn-out process. But all the time that that's going on, the entire time, Pau and Olmo, they are provisionally registered, and that could last for up to 3 months. But it was very interesting, guys, wasn't it, last night there, in and around the stadium? We spoke about the delight of Dani Olmo, the big smile that he had upon arriving to the stadium, and then, of course, we saw Joan Laporta's reaction. Now, the thing about Laporta is, and this is what I've spoken about before, he always wears his heart on his sleeve. I have never, ever doubted that the man cares, that he wants the best, that he's desperately trying to get the best for this club. It doesn't always work out, as we've seen. There are mistakes along the way, but look at the delight from him. Look at the sheer happiness that they were finally granted the precautionary measure that they were looking for. But I have to say here, guys, that happiness did not last when he went up to the presidential box there inside the stadium there. Laporta, of course, in the box with lots of other officials there, and some of those were actually members of the Spanish Federation's board of directors, of course, because they are in charge of the whole Super Cup format here. So they were in attendance at the game. They were inside of that box too. And Laporta actually couldn't hold back. Apparently he was really agitated, really frustrated. He actually swore a bit in their direction. He did actually come out and say quite a few things. He also labelled all those people there in the box as dishonourable people. and he really wasn't happy. The relationship there between Laporta and the Federation, very tense, and it has completely broken down. But the problem for Laporta now is that apparently the Spanish Federation, they are now considering opening a disciplinary file against Laporta for his actions last night when he couldn't say nothing, he could not stay silent. He wanted to show them just how angry he was. And as much as you can understand, and I certainly can, the emotion, the raw emotion from Laporta after everything that has gone on, but this is a bit of a problem now for him. The Federation are clearly angry. They're angry as well with the court's decision. And even today, from La Liga's side, Javier Tebas has been on Twitter absolutely crying. Could somebody get that guy a box of tissues? He is absolutely furious. And he wrote out a big essay. That must have taken him all morning there to get his words down on paper. But yeah, the Federation, they are angry, they are FEF, and as such, in that disciplinary process now, there is even an option, apparently, according to the media now, to actually demote Laporta from the Barcelona presidency, to basically make it so that he is no longer allowed to be the president of Barca. Now look, I don't expect it to go that far at all, I really don't see it coming to that. But they aren't happy, and Laporta here has almost just played into their hands a little bit. But like I say, you can understand the reaction. But can I just mention, guys, because actually up until now I haven't spoken about this, it wasn't as bad though, was it, as what Vinicius Jr. did just a few days ago against Valencia, where, can I remind you, he put his hands directly on the face of an opposition player in an aggressive manner. He actually there fully went for the Valencia goalkeeper. And not only that, that in itself there, you could rack up a serious suspension for that kind of act. It was the reaction. The guy was absolutely livid. He was going for the referee. If he wasn't held back there and if he wasn't sort of restrained, he was actually full out going for the referee. And it was very hard to control him. He was out of control, and yet a 2-game ban. Vinicius Jr. received just 2 matches for all of that behaviour. And can I remind you, Hansi Flick banned for 2 games, the same suspension for literally nothing, for saying words, for stepping out of his technical area, literally nothing. Robert Lewandowski banned for 3 games for touching his nose. His own nose, not even somebody else's nose, his own nose. 3 games. And these are the kinds of people, these are the federations that we are currently dealing with. However, guys, there has been yet more big news breaking today, and we have to talk more about this whole Ronald Araujo situation. I've got to be completely honest with you right here. With every passing day, in my opinion, he actually gets closer to leaving. Everything that we're starting to hear about Araujo, the feelings that he has, the feelings that he's conveying inside the dressing room and to the club, it is not looking good for his future at Barca. He could genuinely leave, and in this month, in the January transfer window. Because what we're hearing today, the latest reports say, is that he's actually told some of his teammates at Barca he is thinking of leaving the club, that he is not really happy right now, that he hasn't been too happy at the club for some time, and that he's actually aiming, though, for a move to the Premier League. That is what we are hearing right now with Araujo. We've heard a lot of rumours linking in with Juve, but we have also heard a few links to Arsenal as well. And apparently Araujo, he would love to play in the Premier League. He's always felt that way. I think he feels as though he'd be quite suited to the Premier League there, and I would probably agree with that. But Barca will not accept a loan deal. They want money, they want a significant amount brought in. And remember, they will only let Araujo leave, they will only open negotiations there for his exit if he comes to them and actively says, look, I want to go. But right now, from what we're hearing, that could actually be the case. Because we're also hearing from the media this morning, going more into these reports here, trying to understand really why Araujo feels unhappy right now, why he may be looking to leave the club in January. Apparently he is feeling, and has felt for a while, mentally exhausted at the club. Those are the words there that are being used to describe his feelings in the media. And I think there are a number of factors here at play when it comes to Araujo. We spoke about it a little bit yesterday. I think one of them is definitely that PSG game. The red card, and not just that moment, out there on the field, losing the game in the end, being knocked out of the Champions League, and the effect that had on our whole season. But I think it was the aftermath of that. Remember, lots of criticism in the media, from the fan base too, and even from his own teammates. Gundogan spoke out at length about the mistake, about taking responsibility, and I think Araujo always felt angry and frustrated and maybe hard done by since that game and since that whole situation. Of course, he's had a number of injury problems to battle against. He has really suffered badly throughout his entire time at Barca, really, with consistent injury problems. Maybe he feels a bit exhausted and a bit set back by that. And apparently, according to the media, it's also got something to do with what he's been watching this season. You know, the rise of Pau Cubarsí. Apparently now, he is our number one defender. Flick sees him above everybody else at the club. And Inigo Martinez, too, don't forget, has been absolutely incredible. And also the potential signing of Jonathan Tah. All of these things combined right now have made Araujo really consider his future. With his contract running down, with his contract there expiring in 18 months, he's got to make up his mind. The club are apparently aware of his unhappiness. They know that it's a possibility. He might want to leave. And if he does convey that clearly to them, it might even happen this month that Araujo does leave the club. Now, what would you make of that? Because actually, guys, we are not even done there, because from Araujo, we move on to Frenkie de Jong. Now, these are two players, of course, who have their contracts expiring, and both of them seem right now that they're not actually fully committed to the club, but they are thinking maybe about what their next step is going to be. Because I have to talk here about Frenkie, and I've left this until the end because some people believe here on the channel that I am overly critical of Frenkie de Jong. This may not be of interest to everybody here, but I personally, and I know a lot of other Barca fans are the same right now, I can't ignore what we saw right there yesterday, what it represents for me, because I'm not even talking about the mistake itself. I will accept here that Cubarsí plays a really powerful and actually unexpected pass into the path of Frenkie de Jong. Now, Frenkie actually, to his credit, he does well to control that ball, but then he makes a pass completely blind, and he effectively plays in Iñaki Williams. Now, we're incredibly lucky, by the way, that there is a touch in there, a deflection from an Athletic Club player, which in the end means that it's going to be offside, but nobody saw that coming. So can I just ask all of you guys here, why is Frenkie not moving? Why, once that mistake has been made, the ball has been given away, why is he rooted to the same spot? When look around him, there are 6 other Barcelona players. They are sprinting. They are doing absolutely everything in their power to get back in there, to put some sort of pressure on Athletic Club, to stop the goal from happening. Look at Koundé. He starts behind Frenkie, way behind Frenkie's starting position, and he ends up, because of that will, because of that hunger, because he's desperate to help the team, he ends up way ahead of Frenkie and closer to getting back, and that is inexcusable. You know, you can make a mistake. Any player is capable of making a mistake, but the problem is the lack of effort, the lack of heart, the lack of will. This is not the first time that we've seen this from Frenkie de Jong there. A failure to just move, to want it, to be there for the team. And that is why, by the way, he is not playing right now. He is not starting in this team. Hansi Flick does not want that in his Barcelona team. He expects every player to buy into the philosophy, to work hard, to focus on the team, to work for each other. That cannot happen, and I was absolutely shocked and dismayed when I saw that yesterday from a player that, don't forget, he's not starting, he's not playing. You would think he'd be doing everything in his power to get back in, but that has not happened. That is simply not happening, and I just couldn't ignore that. Like I say, guys, some people may think here that I'm going overboard, that I'm going way, way beyond here, but I just couldn't accept that. I could not see that, and I could not understand what the thinking is there with Frenkie de Jong. What did you make there of that moment in the game? What do you make when thinking about his future? What do you make of the Araujo situation? And along with that, everything else that we have discussed right here in today's video, guys. So please let me know right there in the comments down below how you are feeling right now, and looking forward, of course, to the weekend's final of the Supercup. I will see all of you very, very soon. Thank you for the great support. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.